Hey everybody, we got these two boxes in the mail recently, so let's open them up and see what we got. Okay, so in the first box we got a set of links, all metal. We got a set of links with bent ends with some kind of a plastic center. We got a set of hexes and servo mounts, a set of screws, and we have a front axle. This is the Xtra speed SCX-10 sized axle kit, and what makes this unique is it actually has a lockable and unlockable differential, and that uses this lever here to lock and unlock the diff, and it can be slid by hand or with an additional piece that comes in the box, this cable, which is like a bicycle cable, and that can be hooked to a servo so that you can shift the differential with a servo. Now these are not Vanquish quality, I have to say right off the bat. There's a number of things that I've noticed here. I can show you right here. You can see that the screw that holds these two halves together, they've almost drilled all the way through. In the polishing process, probably that came through. And that happened on both sides. One side a little bit more than the other. And while they are nice pieces, and I don't see anything wrong with them and using them, I just don't want you to expect that these are of the highest quality. The bigger issue that I found, however, that's going to require a bit of work with these, first of all, if we take a look, and if I set this down, so here we have the front of the truck, here's our steering linkages, and if I set one side, so the wheel would be pointed straight ahead, here, you can see that the other side is pointed way off at a wonky angle. So if we bring them so that they're about even, we can see that the truck would have a serious amount of toe in, where the tires are going to be pointed in towards each other. And there's no way to actually correct this with the pieces that we have here. If I loosen up this link entirely, we actually don't have enough material on this link to have both of these sitting straight. So if we try to line this up just loosely, what you can see is I can actually almost set this link down right in between without touching either of my end links. So this piece isn't long enough, so we're going to have to get a whole new piece for that. And this thread does not appear to be standard metric. It actually appears to be US standard, which a lot of the links are either, so you just need to pay attention when you're getting something that you either get a piece that matches this thread or you get new end links to match your new center section. The other problem, however, is a little bit more complex, and that is that if we loosen these two screws here, we take out this retainer piece. First off, this is really kind of fiddly in terms of getting this to move right into the position where it will shift the differential. So we have to rotate it and kind of push, and eventually, if we get it just so, it will slide into place there. And so now we have an open differential. And then if we get it back out, we'll have a locked differential. Now, open differential means that one wheel can spin at a different speed than the other wheel. Locked means both wheels turn at the same speed. The advantage to a locked differential for a crawler, obviously, is that if you have one wheel that has more traction than the other, it will pull the other wheels along with it. With an open differential, you get better turning radiuses. So the idea with these is that you could, with a servo, shift and unlock or lock the differential based on your needs. Now, we also received the rear axle here, which is just straight standard axle, just like the SCX-10 stock axles. No servo mount. Also came with all the same links, all the same cables. Just did not come with the servo horn pieces. Okay. And I've started to disassemble this one so we can see a little bit of what it does here. If you take a look, it's a little bit different than the standard SCX-10. So you can see here in this cavity is a little pin that can slide back and forth. There. And that's what actually does the locking and unlocking of the differential. So as we spin that piece actually spins, and if we tip this way, it slides into place. And now we have a lock differential. If we slide it the other way, it's out. And now we have an open differential where we can spin the wheels at different speeds, or even hold on to one axle and spin the other one completely. The problem that we have here, though, is in the housing here, where this sits, you can see how much this wiggles. And now I haven't run this with a servo yet, but if I can't move this very smoothly with my hand, I can't imagine that a servo is going to have an easier time moving this unless we have a pretty hefty-duty servo, and then I have to wonder what the wear is going to be like on the axles. Thankfully, there's a fairly simple solution. This is the mechanism from the rear axle that actually does the sliding. Here it is. The camera will focus. There we go. So here's our lever that we hold on to, and it just slides in and out here. But the problem is this gap here. You see there, I can move that up and down. That's what causes that wobbliness. So the solution is we're just going to take a piece of brass and cut that to shape and fit it in there, and then put everything back together. And hopefully that will allow this to run much smoother, just like it was flush up against this here, so that there's no wobbliness going on. With it down here, it wobbles and has a harder time engaging and disengaging the differential. So I've started just making a piece of styrene just to test the concept. Styrene's just ABS plastic, what most of the hard plastic crawler bodies are made out of. And this is roughly the shape that it's going to need to be. And we'll put that in and we'll get that tested. Make sure that's all working smoothly and get it hooked up to a servo, and then continue to do some more testing, make sure that all works. And assuming it all works, I will go back and update you guys with new status on these, and hopefully we'll be able to include a PDF file that you can download and print out to get the exact measurements on what that spacer needs to be. So hopefully that will solve that problem, and if not, we'll take another approach. But I think these are very promising axles. I think if you have a long wheelbase vehicle, then being able to shift the differentials so that you can get a better steering radius is definitely going to be something that could be fun and or interesting for you. Having locked axles front and rear on a long wheelbase vehicle means you have a very, very wide turning radius, which makes it difficult to do any trailing or anything else with. Whereas if you could shift the differential, unlock it when you need to really turn tight, lock it back up when you need to crawl, then it makes that vehicle much more versatile. So these are the Xtra speed axles. Those are the things that are on my set that I purchased. These did not come as any sort of a sponsor or anything like that. And we'll see what happens.